Hello, welcome everybody. We're so excited for you to join us this sunny lunchtime for the launch of our ambitious new Solar Citizens campaign, Raise the Roof, which seeks to double down on the success of rooftop solar backed by storage in Australia and also scale implementation of this known cost of living and climate solution across Asia Pacific. I'd like to acknowledge that we're coming from the lands today where sovereignty was never ceded. I'm personally joining you from the lands of the Bidjigal and Gadigal of the Eora Nation on the edge of beautiful Kamay or Botany Bay in Sydney. I pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect particularly to any First Nations people joining us today. If you know the country that you are on, please take a moment to acknowledge that country to each other through the chat function on Zoom. Solar Citizens recognises the long-standing leadership of First Nations people in caring for country and fighting for climate justice. My name is Heidi Lee Douglas. I'm the CEO of Solar Citizens, and I'll be facilitating today's workshop. And here's a rundown of what to expect. We've got a jam-packed hour for you today. So I'll be giving you a sneak peek introduction to our Raise the Roof campaign, which we're launching globally next week in Brazil at COP30. We'll also hear from National Advocacy Lead Charlie Roderick about the nuts and bolts of the Australian ask of that campaign and how we're going to ask the government to double down on rooftop solar and storage. What are those policy mechanisms and what's the data? We'll then have a chat with Smart Energy Council CEO John Grimes, who's going to talk to us about the geopolitical opportunities of rooftop solar. We'll hear from Nexa Advisory CEO Stephanie Bashir about the low-hanging fruit of upscaling commercial and industrial rooftop solar and how that can transform our cities into urban renewable energy zones. And then we're inviting you to be our guinea pigs. That's right, a guinea pig to beta test our new interactive research tool, Polus, which we're going to use with you today to find the answers to unlocking solar for renters. So please stay with us for the whole webinar and we will get through all of this hour of power. We've been given 3 hours of free power this week by the government, but this is our hour of power with you to raise the roof. So a little bit about me. I grew up in the Hunter Valley, which is coal and steel country. Energy and manufacturing has built strong communities in the Hunter, but also divided them as well. So I know how important it is for a clean transition for energy and manufacturing in Australia. Earlier in my career, I worked as a documentary filmmaker for many years, and it was very impactful work, but it was also really tough, to be honest. I was one of 20 people and organizations that was sued for $6.8 million in a landmark court case called the Guns 20. But we did help protect Tasmania's old growth forests. We won, but I came away determined to find a better way forward, one focused on unity and solutions, not conflict. And that's why I found advocacy for the uptake of rooftop solar and batteries so empowering, excuse the pun, because it's practical, it's people-powered solutions that lowers bills, cuts emissions, and gives Australians control over their energy. And it appeals to all sides of politics and on every house on the street. It doesn't really matter how you vote, but if you've got that rooftop solar there, you're doing something good for you, for your neighbours, and for the environment. So as the last 3 years of Solar Citizens, this has just proven to me more and more that this is the right path to be on. And together with your help and the help of the special guests here today, we have seen some great wins, from the Electric Ute Roadshow helping to shepherd in a diverse range of more affordable electric vehicles in Australia through securing the new vehicle efficiency standard, to adding to the call for solar potential for social housing and seeing more than $1 billion unlocked for energy efficiency upgrades, including solar for social housing from state and federal government. And more recently, working with partners like the Smart Energy Council and Renew Australia for All and the Sydney Alliance, working together to secure the Cheaper Home Batteries program, a federal rebate on home batteries, which you told us repeatedly that you needed to be able to afford a home battery to use your cheap, clean solar day and night. So, after more than a decade of Solar Citizens campaign wins, we're not slowing down, we're doubling down. Australia already leads the world in rooftop solar per capita, and we're calling for that to be doubled down on. We want twice as many homes and buildings to have rooftop solar. We have 4 million homes already and businesses powered by rooftop solar in Australia, with home battery storage quickly catching up. But the ongoing challenges with cost of living, high energy prices, unreliable coal power, and the climate crisis demands more. We need a fast and fair transition to clean energy. Unfortunately, large-scale renewable projects and transmission lines are running into growing community resistance. So we need an alternative to expensive polluting fossil fuels, and we need it now. Rapidly scaling up rooftop solar and household batteries and orchestrated battery storage is fast, cheap, fair, and backed by strong community support. But we need the policies to get us there. So let's raise the roof together. Raise the Roof is our national campaign to double rooftop solar by 2035 in Australia, backed by storage. And the way to double rooftop solar is to deliver the right policy mechanisms to the 60% of Australians who are currently missing out on those rooftop solar savings, especially the third of the population who currently rent. So we aim to raise the roof on unlocking access to cheap, clean energy for renters, opening up solar and storage on big roofs like commercial and industrial buildings, and stabilizing the grid with coordinated batteries. So now I'm going to hand over to the wonderful Solar Citizens National Advocacy Lead, Charlie Roderick, to get into the details. Charlie is going with me next week to COP in Brazil to launch the Raise the Roof campaign on the global stage. Take it away, Charlie.
Thanks, Heidi. Firstly, acknowledging that I'm joining you today from the unceded lands of the Gadigal and Birrabirragal here in the Eora Nation. It's a privilege to be able to work, live and play on this beautiful country, and I've been lucky enough to call Australia home for the past 7 years. As the National Advocacy Lead for Solar Citizens, I campaign for all Australians to have access to rooftop solar and clean energy solutions, bringing down emissions as well as energy bills. As someone who is both renting and living in an apartment, I often feel frustrated at not being able to install solar on my own roof. And I know there are millions of renters like me who would love to be able to participate more fully in the clean energy transition. So that's exactly what gives me the motivation to do this work, not just in Australia, but now looking to the global stage too, in Belém, across the Asia Pacific region and beyond. Today, I'm very excited to share with you all our new national campaign, or international campaign, I should say, Raise the Roof. Next slide, please, John. So let's start with renters. Currently, there are over 3 million rental homes, apartments, and social housing properties across the nation, with a massive rooftop solar potential of 17 gigawatts, and most of that is untapped. So to put that into perspective, because gigawatts doesn't always resonate with everybody, it's a little bit nerdy, Australia's current rooftop solar capacity is about 27 gigawatts. So to double that capacity by 2035, we really need the policies and incentives to help renters and other locked out households share in the benefits. Next slide. Our Raise the Roof campaign calls on the Albanese government to commit to unlocking rooftop solar for 30% rentals and apartments by 2030 and 50% by 2035. So these targets align with Australia's 2030 and 2035 emissions reduction targets that we'll be hearing about at COP next week, and also their global renewables pledge that they made at COP28 a couple years back. They're also based on forecasting by the Australian Energy Market Operator, or AEMO, and they're also backed in by energy experts. They're ambitious, but with the right policies and support, they're well within reach. Next slide. Okay, then there are big roofs. Solar gold mines sitting on factories, warehouses, schools, and shopping centres. These commercial and industrial rooftops could host 28 gigawatts of solar, as outlined in Stephanie's report from Next Advisory. But so far, we've only tapped into about 1/5 of the capacity. So we're calling on the federal government to raise the roof on ambition and commit to getting solar on 40% of commercial and industrial buildings by 2030 and 50% by 2035.
Charlie, sorry to interrupt, but your connection is not very great. So Carolyn has asked me to take over just because you're coming in and out a bit. So if you don't mind, I'll continue on.
Yes.
where you left off. Sorry about that. So we're also proposing urban renewable energy zone pilots connecting big rooftops into local clean power networks. While a high rise might meet only 5% of its energy needs with rooftop solar because of limited rooftop space, a warehouse with a big roof could produce 5 or even 10 times what it uses. If we link these up, these warehouses and commercial industrial spaces and the neighboring apartments, sharing solar and storage, we can power our cities locally, sustainably, cut costs, and ease pressure on our electricity grid network. So, as we scale up rooftop solar capacity, we'll also need plenty more batteries in the grid to help soak up this abundance of solar energy ready to be used after the sun goes down. Not only that, but batteries help make energy cheaper, smooth out peaks in demand, and keep the grid stable as we shift away from fossil fuels. And the good news is that since the 1st of July, we've celebrated over 100,000 battery installations thanks to the Cheaper Home Batteries program. Plus, the government has already committed to achieving 1 million home batteries by 2030. So we're building on this success and raising the ambition to 1.8 million batteries by 2035. And again, these targets are based on forecasting by the Australian Energy Market Operator. In terms of battery-empowered homes, we're making great progress on installations, but only 5% of household batteries are so far connected to virtual power plants or VPPs, technology which allows batteries to be coordinated for smarter, more efficient energy sharing. We need to lock in policies like fair, transparent contracts for VPPs to boost consumer confidence and drive uptake in line with these targets. We also need to see more progress on vehicle to grid technology so that cars can be used as giant batteries on wheels, as so many solar citizens and EV owners are keen to do and keep telling us. Together, these targets, policies, and technology will cut energy bills, boost energy reliability, and ultimately help Australia make the most of its solar superpower. So we're taking this message and campaign to the International Climate Conference COP30 in Brazil in the next few days, because we really believe it's time for Australia to lead the region. That means the Asia Pacific region. This is the first time Solar Citizens is going to COP, and it's because we face a really unique opportunity next year, and that's COP31, which will shine a global spotlight on our track record on climate action and provide an opportunity to shape domestic policy initiatives and energy policy across the Asia Pacific region, especially if Australia secures hosting COP with our Pacific neighbours. So by scaling rooftop solar and storage, we can drive up global ambition and drive down energy prices. So over the next year, Solar Citizens will continue to campaign for a step change in rooftop solar and battery ambition, build and demonstrate community momentum for scaling and implementing solutions that are ready to go now, provide a policy framework for the government to double rooftop solar by 2035, plus build a regional partnership to raise rooftop solar ambition in the Asia Pacific. Which is why I'm really excited to now introduce the fabulous John Grimes, CEO of the Smart Energy Council. So you've probably seen or heard John in the media. He's a frequent go-to person for mainstream media, and you'll know that John is a bold advocate for the smart energy industry. He sits on a number of expert reference committees and boards providing advice to several state governments and the energy sector. John is supporting our work with Raise the Roof and is going to be playing a supportive role for us at COP30 and us for his work as well. And he has some words of encouragement about how our Raise the Roof campaign can nudge our government to play a strong leading role on delivering clean energy in Australia and the world. As John said in his rousing National Press Club speech in July, with 10 million Australians living under rooftop solar and the surge in battery storage due to the Cheaper Home Batteries program, we are showing the world a uniquely Australian way to lead the energy transition. So over to you, John. Can you tell us about the Global Solar Council's Rooftop Solar Pledge campaign?
Yeah, fantastic. Heidi, thank you. And great to be here. I'm coming to you from Ngunnawal country in the beautiful ACT. I think what you're doing here is absolutely fantastic. We're part of an organisation called the Global Solar Council. It's the global peak industry body for the global solar and energy storage industries. That organisation is celebrating its 10th anniversary at COP30 this year. That has set a global objective of 300 million solar rooftops by 2035. So really taking what we've done and learnt in Australia and applying that on a global scale. So a really exciting initiative, and one that solar citizens, you know, the work that you do can really be amplified to have global impact.
That's so exciting, John. And we're really thrilled to be working within that global community with people so focused on similar shared values and aims for democratizing the energy grid in a fast and fair way across not just Australia, but the world. What do you think is the opportunity for rooftop solar backed by storage? What are you hearing? You've been traveling a lot. I think you've been in India. Where else have you been? Everywhere. Tell us what you're hearing on the ground.
Yeah, well, what Australia's done is unique. We really backed rooftop solar. So we actually have higher rates of penetration in rooftop solar than anywhere else in the world. And we've learned a lot in the process. You know, when I spoke to engineers in South Australia 15 years ago, they were really worried when they got to 20% variable renewable energy. They said, the grid can't cope, it'll fall over, it's not possible. And of course, now in South Australia, there are times of the year where we get 100% renewable energy from rooftop solar alone to power the whole economy of South Australia. So, and I actually think eye-wateringly cheap solar panel technology and eye-wateringly cheap battery technology is the thing that's going to give the world a fighting chance in the face of dangerous climate change. We know that the transition at large scale, transmission lines, unlocking large projects, planning approvals, connection approvals, is really difficult. It's slow, and so it's important work, but it's a work that's being bogged down in the transition. At the same time, rooftops, mums and dads, small businesses are voting with their feet. They're investing their own money to put solar panels and batteries in, and it's absolutely changing, transforming the energy sector in Australia. I actually think that what we're going to learn in Australia through this cheaper home battery program is going to fundamentally change energy and energy system in Australia. But I also think it's going to demonstrate to the world, how do you transform rapidly? And that's a bottom-up revolution, actually. It's local individuals and communities taking local action that is actually the solution for transforming the whole world and actually shifting the dial when it comes to climate action. So I think we should be hugely proud of what we've done here. We should not underestimate the impact that we collectively are having, but more importantly, that we can have actually in a global transition and debate. So I think I'm really energized and excited about what comes next.
Now, they're very rousing words. Thank you, John. So, in terms of geopolitical situations shaping the Smart Energy Council and the Global Solar Council, you know, there is a real focus, a shift into Asia Pacific. I think that's because of what's happening in the US. Could you just outline some of those conditions for us and our supporters?
I was in New York recently. I was really worried before I went. You know, would the whole thing have come to a crashing stop because Trump's in office? And the great news is it didn't miss a beat. Like the whole momentum is still happening globally. And that's because we've seen this film before. We know that when Trump says burn, baby, burn, well, the world retreats. And what happens is we see a lot more action at the other national level, at the subnational government, so people like California in the United States, at the city level. Heidi, we saw exactly the same thing here in Australia. For a decade, we had a government that wanted to close down the renewable energy sector. So the focus of effort went to Queensland and New South Wales and Victoria and South Australia. The states took a leadership role. Yes, it's not good that America has stepped away from that leadership position, but it opens up opportunities for others. So, you know, geopolitically, we're seeing greater focus on energy security. People are actually concerned about, you know, being self-reliant. And if you're getting your energy from the sun and the wind, well, they can't take that away from you. And also, you know, supply chains and other value-adding opportunities.
And do you think this could position Australia as a world leader, John?
Look, I actually think we're on the cusp of not only are we learning about how you do distributed energy here, how you actually create a VPP that works for consumers, but I think the next step is going to be transformative. The implication of having batteries on wheels, electric vehicles plugging into the load, the house or the grid. I actually think we're learning things here first globally. That's really valuable IP that we should be capitalizing on and actually exporting to the world. And so I think this is transformative. It's Australia's moment to shine, and we should be thinking about the business opportunities that attach to that.
And how do you think that would help everyday Australians?
Well, this is about meaningful cost of living relief. People are effectively tearing up their electricity bill, their gas bill, and their power bill. If you've got a reasonable sized solar system, a reasonable sized battery, then you become largely self-sufficient. And so this is about, what's the biggest problem? Cost of living relief. What's the biggest solution? Solar and batteries. Like it's kind of a no-brainer. We heard the federal government announce in the last day or so that 3 free hours of electricity in the middle of the day, that's the dividend of Australians taking action. So, while you have the naysayers saying, the reason that power bills are going up is because of renewable energy, the reality is that renewable energy is cutting costs for ordinary householders and for Australians.
That's great news, John. Is there anything else you'd like to share? I know you've got to duck off to Brazil.
Literally going home to pack. But Heidi, we're so excited to be partnered with Solar Citizens, to be on the ground with you at COP30, to do what we can to try and secure the bid for Australia for COP31, to bring it home to Adelaide. But in the absence of that, and let's see how that plays out, really to shift the dial, to demonstrate to the world what's possible, what we've done in Australia, what the community has done, what an important role people like Solar Citizens play in that transition, and really, put you into the global spotlight. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm also, just as a side note, Heidi, I was a Rotary Exchange student in Brazil in 1987, so I'm looking forward to getting my Carnival dance moves back on and showing you around the town.
That sounds so great, John. I know it's going to be a huge amount of hard work for all of us on the ground in Brazil. We're working our proverbials off this week, getting everything prepared, but it's all worth it because we've seen such great wins, just this week with the Solar Sharer campaign, the home battery win. We know we can do this together, but we need all of our solar citizens as this is a joint community grassroots movement combined with your leadership in the industry, the solar industry. It's a kind of unstoppable combination. So thank you so much, John, for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. So now I'm going to have the pleasure of presenting Stephanie Bashir. So Stephanie is a leader in the energy space, and she's got her own presentation today, which will deep dive into the opportunities for commercial and industrial rooftop solar uptake. Stephanie's done a great report on this. She's done lots of great reports, including ones for Solar Citizens over the last few years. So she's the founder and executive officer of Nexa Advisory, an independent energy consultancy working to accelerate Australia's clean energy transition. She's got over 20 years experience in energy markets, regulation and policy, and is a recognized leader and commentator on energy reform, market design, and consumer outcomes. So let's hear from Stephanie on what the challenges are and how to overcome them to create a win-win for business, governments, and consumers by growing the enormous potential for rooftop solar on commercial and industrial rooftops. Over to you, Stephanie.
Thank you very much, Heidi, and thank you everyone for joining us and joining this presentation and webinar. I am calling from the sunny Nam, and it's a wonderful day here in Melbourne. I'll just share my slides. Hopefully my slides are shared. Just one second. I'm sorry.
They're coming now. We can see.
Yes. Is that?
Yeah, if you just put them into present.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you for bearing with me while I share my slides. What I want to share with you today is the opportunities across what we're calling the missing middle. So these are the commercial and industrial consumers here in Australia that currently are businesses that don't sit in the very large end of town, like smelters and big industry. And they're also not the small end of town business shops. These are things like warehouses, um, manufacturing, and other businesses like that. So I'm just going to kick off by just reiterating some of the things that both Charlie and Heidi have said. You know, our current fossil fuel assets that have actually benefited us for generations, they're coming to their end of life. More and more, they're becoming very unreliable. We've just done a deep dive into the various coal power stations, the one in New South Wales, both Eraring and Bayswater. We've done the Yallourn in Victoria, and we've also delved into Collide B and C in Queensland, all of which are due to close down over the next decade. And we also heard, and you're seeing a lot in the news, building the large-scale renewables, wind, solar, big batteries are being delayed. And the main reason for the delays is the lack of high voltage transmission to connect them. There's no shortage of projects in the pipeline, but really connecting those projects and getting them through the pipeline to financial closure and then building them and connecting them is proving to be difficult. To reach our federal targets, we need to be building about 6 gigawatts of renewable energy per week, and we're really only building about 2 to 3. So there is we are running a little bit behind, and that really presents a huge opportunity for the consumer energy in Australia. What's also proving to be a challenge is the growth in consumption. So we're seeing a lot of data centers coming online, the conversation on electrification, many homes and businesses are electrifying, and that's a challenge, but it's also a great opportunity. It is actually an opportunity because it is cheaper in the long run. It's just right now we are in the messy middle of the energy transition and we're working through, building out the big stuff. But that's exactly where the grassroots consumer energy plays a huge role in relieving the challenge. And so when we talk about the untapped potential of commercial and industrial solar, we're actually talking about a 28 gigawatt worth. So putting that in perspective, what we mean by that is if you think about it currently, the coal capacity across the assets in the national electricity market make up 21 gigawatts in total across all the assets. We're saying that if we put solar rooftop on the roofs of our warehouses, our business precincts, and other areas, it is a potential of 28 gigawatt. That's huge. And so what that does is it also relieves the system. So as we're getting the growth in demand, but the more important benefit from having the commercial and industrial solar and batteries is that delivers direct savings, not just to the businesses who are hosting the assets, the solar and battery assets, but commercial and industrial solar has the potential of reducing electricity prices across the market for everybody because of that relief on the peak and the demand across the electricity system. So the benefits really are what we're saying is a win-win. It's a win for the businesses who host the technologies. It's a win for the system in terms of relieving that demand peak and basically relieves from having to gold plate and invest in a lot of assets. But more importantly, it's a direct saving on bills by everybody. The issue though is that while it's an opportunity, it's currently untapped. It's an untapped potential. And what I've got there is a graph that shows you the growth in residential solar, which is the yellow line, versus the commercial and industrial, which is the bottom line in green. And that basically makes up only 5 gigawatts installed today compared to what we've got in the residential space, which is over 20 gigawatts. And, hats off to the residential market in the take-up of rooftop solar and batteries. Since 2015, homes and small businesses have actually invested over $20 billion in rooftop solar and batteries and these assets. And the number one reason that people continue to invest in rooftop solar is that it directly reduces the bills and relieves people's hip pocket. And that is a huge benefit for taking up solar. But I guess more importantly, that is why the focus needs to now go on to the commercial and industrial, because if we can bring commercial and industrial customers on board, the take up of rooftop solar on the roofs of big warehouses and precincts, it actually helps them and helps overall the electricity market. I guess some of the challenges in that is, of course, it's tenancy constraints. A lot of those where rooftops are, the warehouses, maybe they're rentals, and so they're not their own roofs, so they have to basically look at negotiations with the landlord. It's a very similar problem to basically renters in homes and apartments. The physical limitations is also another one. I've actually on purpose put this um, picture in here to demonstrate. This is in Victoria, and this is basically a site that they've turned one of the parking lots into a solar, basically mid-scale solar. And the idea here is that they couldn't use all the roof space in that area. And so they looked at the car park as well. And we're going to see a lot of that sort of thing happening because it is actually a huge win for everyone involved. The retail contracts is a barrier. A lot of big businesses have long-term contracts with their energy retailers, that span over 10, 15 years, and breaking the contract makes it very difficult. There's, of course, the outdated tariff design, which means getting the value. I think that's also an issue in the small market space. The connection challenges, and of course, there's actually currently limited market services and incentives for businesses to undertake an investment like this. So what we've been doing is we've actually been calling for a policy from the federal government and the state governments to turn some attention towards the missing middle. They do require quite a bit of investment, and so incentivizing that missing middle is going to be really critical. It provides the cheaper bills, but it also helps with insurance, as our coal is unreliable. Even if we wanted to keep it open, they do have a lot of power outages, and having solar at this scale on commercial businesses does provide that insurance during peak times. So we're calling for incentives. There's obviously a lot of federal schemes. There's also state schemes that can put towards dedicated tenders to enable aggregated consumer energy and commercial customers. We're also asking for accelerated reforms to value these services. So, for example, in very hot days when the coal power plant units are down and energy ministers call out for support from consumers to reduce their load, these are the customers that can really move the dial and make a difference so that we keep the lights on. And so ensuring that when they do provide that service to the broader industry, that they are valued for that. And that's what they call, some people call it virtual power plants, others call it flexible loads or demand side management. It is those services that are going to be critical for the future, because when customers do provide their assets as a service, they should be rewarded for it. And of course, lastly, it's making sure that consumer choice is available, so people can still, use their choice to who they choose for their technology provider, who they choose for their service provider. That sort of competition and choice is going to be really important to continue. We've had it quite a bit in the solar industry and the battery industry so far, and we want to make sure that that continues, because it means more choice and cheaper and fairer technology for consumers, but also it allows innovation in services and value of customers. And that's
wonderful, Stephanie. Thank you so much. We're really looking forward to collaborating more with you on this campaign moving forward. And I think one thing that's really high on our list of objectives is coming up with a business case model for urban renewable energy zones, so we can see how we can do that in a fast and fair way for consumers moving forward, to really bring to life solar across the rooftops of our cities and towns and make us sustainable with our energy use and creation here in the cities. So Stephanie, is there anything else you'd like to add before we talk to our guinea pigs?
Yes, I would just like to say congratulations on all the work you do to champion solar and consumers and consumer choice in this space. Absolutely, this is the grassroots revolution at all levels. And as John said, Australians love rooftop solar. They've been voting with their rooftops. And as I mentioned, $20 billion investment out of people's pockets directly over the last 10 years is not a small amount. And that's what I call a grassroots revolution.
Woo! Thanks, Stephanie. That's great. Great way to sum up. So now we're going to look at one of the really difficult policy areas, which is unlocking solar for renters. And we need your help today. So I'm excited to introduce a new campaigning tool. We haven't used this before in Solar Citizens. In fact, I don't know any Australian organisations who have used this before, but it's a very inspiring tool that's been used around the world to help with deliberative democracy. So getting people engaged to share their opinions on how to unlock the policy solutions that we need. So it's a generative AI interactive survey called Polis, and we think it's going to take our campaigns to a whole new level. Unlike a standard survey, Polis allows participants to share your own ideas, get the responses to them live, and see what others think. So it's like a hive mind, and it confirms a positive bias rather than negative bias, which is what normal social media does. So it really builds on solutions rather than gets people bogged down in division. It uses artificial intelligence to identify patterns in agreement and disagreement, and helping reveal where consensus exists and where it doesn't. So at Solar Citizens, our mission is to build campaigns that truly represent the voice of everyday Australians, and we think that Polis will help us do exactly that. So we're opening a conversation today with you for our Solar for Renters campaign, where we will ask you to basically vote on the policies and messaging that you like best to unlock solar for renters. Instead of guessing what Australia wants, we are asking us directly. So Polis has been used all over the world already, in Taiwan and across the US, where governments use it to help citizens decide on how to regulate issues like Uber. Thousands of people have taken part, and instead of polarization, Polis has helped them to find common ground around safety and fairness, for example, with the Uber issue in Taiwan. Those shared ideas became the basis for their national policy on Uber. So our aim this December is to launch this across Australia, and we want at least 3,000 people to interact. But before we do that, today we need you to be our guinea pigs. This is what's called a beta test. So it's a pilot test, and we're asking you to help us with this test to iron out any bugs and to make sure that this is a user-friendly experience for you before we go live nationally with this on a bigger scale in December. So to tell you more about that and to guide you today and also show you some cute footage of guinea pigs, Talia, our community organizer, is managing this new interactive campaign tool and the rollout of our Polis survey. So over to you now, Talia.
Thank you so much, Heidi. It is such a pleasure to speak with you all today. So I joined Solar Citizens as an intern in April to get direct experience in the world of sustainability and clean energy. I helped with many different projects, including ones leading up to the federal election. Seeing the power that can be built with the support and voices of a community was really inspiring. And now I'm lucky enough to be on board full-time as the community organizer. So I am currently leading our new interactive polling work surrounding our Unlock Solar for Renters campaign, which it is very fitting because I am a renter and I don't have access to solar while also living in an apartment. So as Heidi mentioned, we will be using an anonymous interactive AI survey platform called Polis, which is designed to gather and understand public opinion in a new democratic way. This is the first time we are using Polis, so we're really grateful for your help and being our guinea pigs testing this new tool. When we roll it out publicly in December, we would love to hear not only your voices, but your friends and families as well. I will be completing a live demonstration of using Polis, so feel free to watch it first, and then afterwards there'll be some time for you to complete it as well and ask any questions. All right, let's start with the demonstration. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen, and you will see what it looks like once you click the link. Perfect. So it takes you to the Solar Citizens website where we have the survey. So you just scroll on down. We have a small description of how to do the survey, but since I'll be demonstrating it, I'll skip past it at the moment, but it's there in case you need it later on. So at the top is our topic, Unlock Solar for Renters, with a bit of description on what it is. But the main part is inside this box here, there are statements which come up and then you get to directly vote on them. So for an example, this statement, I am a landlord. So as we mentioned earlier, I'm renting, so I'm not a landlord. So when we take a look at the buttons below, there's green for agree, red for disagree, and pass/unsure. So since I am a renter, I'm going to disagree with this statement. So I click that, and then the next statement comes up automatically. So this one says, governments should do more to encourage the owners of big rooftops like warehouses, shopping centres, schools and supermarkets to install rooftop solar and battery storage. So I personally agree with this topic. So looking at these buttons, I'll be going for the green agree. Obviously, if you have different ideas, that's completely okay. I'm just sharing what I would do in this circumstance. So I'll go and click that button. And then as I'm showing, it keeps on going until there's no statements left. So they just automatically pop up and you keep going through. Now, my personal favorite part of this is when you scroll down, there's a text box here saying share your perspective. So this box is where you can actually add your own voice by putting in your own statement, which can have a perspective you have or any new ideas, and then you could submit it and it adds it back into the survey. So everyone that does this survey will see the statement that you've popped in and they get the chance to vote on it. So just as an example, I have one prepared. It says, it is important that renters can access clean energy from rooftop solar. So I've kept this quite clear and concise. There's only one key point to this statement, which is best. There's a few also tips up here for what makes a good statement. So having one standalone idea, having a new perspective or experience, which may not already be in the survey, and having clear and concise wording. Because once you submit it, everyone will get to vote on it. So I'll just do it as an example. This blue submit button, and I'll click it, and now it's automatically in the survey. So you'll all vote on that statement I just popped in. Now that the text box is empty, you can go and add another statement. So you can add as many as you like, just as long as they're one at a time, and clicking that submit button to make sure they get popped into the survey. So the last part of the survey, which makes it super interactive, just where this blue logo of Polis is, there'll actually be a diagram which pops up, and it'll show the live results of the survey. So it shows a clear consensus that develops as more and more people do the survey, and it will actually change over time. So don't forget to even come back later on. Even if you finish the survey really quickly, this diagram might change heaps, and it's really interesting to take a look at it. So I'll stop sharing my screen because now it's your turn. So this is where you get to be our guinea pig and access this beta test version of the Polis just for the participants in this webinar. So you can either click the link in the chat, use the QR code on the screen, or we've got the URL there as well. And you'll have just under 5 minutes to read, vote, and create new statements. And don't worry if you don't get through it all right now, you can come back later and finish it after the webinar. But this survey will actually be open for a full week. So you'll have time to check any new responses that have been added or to check the diagram and see how it might have changed. So once you finish this survey, can you please just use the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen just to let us know how many people have finished. And if you have any questions at all, just pop them in the chat and we'll answer them as best as we can. So while you're doing the survey, we're going to play some thinking music to help you along. And if you finish, just stay around while others are completing it as we have more to say later.
And Talia, I think it's important for people to know that this is anonymous, so we're not capturing any personal details, but we are capturing your anonymous voice.
Absolutely. Thanks, Heidi.
Yeah, 16 people are in there already. You can see the opinion of the group mapping out. It's so exciting seeing this happen. I like, okay, 18 of us are in there now. You can see the kind of Venn diagram underneath the statements as people take their vote. So how exciting. I'm going to keep going with my survey with the cool elevator music to keep going. Now, 29 people in there. Almost all participants are in there. You can see the Venn diagram. 30. You can see people shaping the opinions. 32. Good on you for jumping on in. Let's keep going.
So we have such an amazing amount of people doing the survey right now. I think it might be time to play a cute video on the screen. While some of you are being our guinea pigs, here are some real cute guinea pigs.
Quite cool. I can see there's like a breakaway group over here on the right, and I can see where I sit in relation to the rest of the group on the left. Very got questions, pop them in the chat if you don't mind. I think there was a question, Chris. You pop the questions in the chat. We're seeing movement starting to slow down a little bit. I think that means most people have probably filled out the survey, Talia. There's still a little bit of movement, so people can keep filling it out as we come to wrap up. We've got 5 minutes to go. Talia, if you want to wrap up that.
Yeah, amazing. So thank you so much, everyone, for giving it a go. If you haven't finished, you can just leave the tab open and feel free to complete it later today. And then as it'll be open for the full week and it is very interactive, you can come back and check the live results and if they have changed from what you've seen today. And then you can vote on any new statements that may have come through as well. So I hand it back to you now, Heidi.
Thanks so much, Talia. I'm just so excited about this tool, and I really am excited for you all joining us. We've been guinea pigging ourselves first, but we needed a bigger group to test this with. So we'd love to get your feedback if you want to pop some thoughts in the chat or give us an email at info@solarcitizens.org.au. We are really proud to be bringing this kind of democracy tool to Australia and be piloting this with your help. So we sincerely thank you and hope that you enjoyed the experience, and we'll hope that you also share the survey again, do the survey again, I should say, and share it with your friends and family when we release it in December as part of our All I Want for Christmas is Solar for Renters campaign, which is going to be very fun. You'll be seeing more of that. at the end of November, early December. So one thing you can also do right now is to sign our Rooftop Solar Pledge petition to help us get it to 1,000 signatures by the time we get to Brazil next week. So that link will be shared in the chat as well. Please sign the petition and share it amongst your networks. Thanks to Talia and Charlie, and a huge thanks to John Grimes from the Smart Energy Council and Nexa Advisory CEO Stephanie Bashir, plus Carolyn, who pulled together this event, and John on tech support. And one really important thing as we are wrapping up today is that we are 100% philanthropic, tax-deductible funded organisation. So everything we do is only possible because of the donations of supporters like you. So if you can, please dig deep. We're an independent charity. We need your support to keep doing this work. We wake up in the morning to make this happen. We're all very passionate, very driven, but we really do rely on that financial support. So either yourself or share in the community that we would love those tax deductible donations to keep fueling our work as we keep raising our ambition to raise the roof with you. So that wraps up our webinar. We're a few minutes early. You've got an early mark. Thank you for your time, and thank you to the team for making this happen today.